Hello, hello, welcome back to Fallout 4. We are starting a new project today. It's probably going to be a few episodes, and the topic of our series will be the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, just a forewarning, there is probably going to be some spoilers, so if you haven't played through the campaign, maybe don't watch this video. But if you don't care, then let's just jump into it. Now, if you've played the campaign where maybe you side with the Institute, you'll know that you'll go against the Railroad. You might go against the Brotherhood of Steel, and their base in the Boston airport. They repair and rebuild Liberty Prime, and also they have their Pridewind, their airship. Pridewind. I don't know how you say it. Anyway, you get to choose whether you side with them or not, and if you do not side with the Brotherhood of Steel, you can basically destroy their super weapon and also their airship. And that's what this guy here is. It's Liberty Prime, so you get the choice to destroy this or not. And I was thinking about that sort of story arc and wondering, like, what would happen next with the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, in my mind, I'd imagine that the remaining Brotherhood of Steel in the Commonwealth would disappear off with their vertibirds and then regroup, maybe in Washington, D.C. So I thought, okay, what if they came back to the Commonwealth but was sort of maybe bigger and better? How would they go about it? Now, if you are familiar with the campaign, you'll know that the Brotherhood of Steel kind of announced their arrival to the Commonwealth in a big way. But what if they didn't do it this time? Maybe they did it covertly. So I've decided to make a Brotherhood of Steel base on Spectacle Island, which is the uninhabited island of the Commonwealth, away from sort of prying eyes. And I was thinking, okay, if they're going to have another super weapon, and it's not going to be Liberty Prime because obviously that one failed last time, what is it going to be? So I've decided to make a new Brotherhood of Steel super weapon, and my one's going to be called the Scarab. And I'll just spin around here. And this is what I've got. Okay, bear with me, it's a bit of a mess. Basically, approach this like Lego. We have the pieces and we just got to put them together. Okay? I have kind of pre-planned it already. I did a little bit of stuff off screen. And I've got all the pieces laid out and I just need to put them together. I won't be doing it from scratch because I guess I need to sort of flesh it out and see how it's going to look in the end. And I'm pretty happy with what I got before. So now it's just the process of putting it all together. So that's what I'm going to make this video about. So as you can see, we are significantly different to Liberty Prime. I mean, Liberty Prime was pretty big, in the campaign, but we're going mega sized. You can see a settler over there next to one of the feet, and yeah, it's massive. Now you may have guessed, I've described it as a Scarab, and the inspiration for this one is the Halo Scarab, the Covenant Scarab, giant walking machine that they sort of use as a kind of a super weapon. So that's going to be kind of the basis of this build. And as I said before, we have all the pieces that I think that we need, and we just need to put them together. So it's a little bit hard maybe to envision right now, but I have already kind of put it together already, so it's just a process of putting it back together and I guess doing the finishing touches, because I did it quite rough the first time. So anyway, enough talking, let's get into it. So I'm just going to delete this guy because we don't need it anymore, it's just for reference. Maybe we'll just do a quick lineup if we can get him next to there. So you can kind of see it's just the height of the Liberty Prime is basically the height of the leg. So this thing is going to be massive. Alrighty, so we got to delete that guy and we've got to start putting this thing together. So I'm going to start by putting the central section, which is this part and then this part over here. This is the Liberty Prime head piece, just without the mask. And as you can see, when I sort of hover over it, when it's highlighted, you can see what part it is. So all these pieces are basically, most of these pieces are Liberty Prime parts. And if you're trying to replicate this, I guess at home, you can kind of see each part I'm playing with. And in terms of mods, this one is part of this static objects and buildings. You can probably find that on Nexus Mods. And if you go to factions there, Brotherhood of Steel, it's basically like a whole bunch of stuff for that faction. Okay, so we need to line up these guys here. Now, to keep everything in order, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put kind of a reference point so that I can kind of follow and make sure everything is lined up correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... does that snap? It doesn't snap. Okay. I want to line this up. So I'm going to do like a sort of a central spine here. Now this might need some finagling in the future because we might need to line it up better in terms of with the legs and things like that. I'll just move this out of the way for now. And I might have to replace that because as you can see the axis, the rotation axis is doing some crazy things. But we'll just see if we can get away with it. Oopsie. So this is just going to be a reference point to kind of make sure we're kind of in line. Alrighty. And we are going to be building on this sort of uneven ground, so we're going to have it mostly complete, but we'll have like a few legs or something with some scaffolding around it, so it looks like we are kind of, well, the Brotherhood of Steel is still kind of building it. Okay, so we're going to get this guy rotated and maybe bring it back a little bit. So we're using the place everywhere or anywhere, I can't remember the full name, mod. And let's just see if we can increase that. Turning radius. No, is that rotation? Let's put it up a little bit. Something like that. And this is a little bit difficult to sort of to do because when you play with the rotation, sometimes it does some funky things. So I'm just sort of looking at the prefab there and just making sure it's somewhat in the middle. It doesn't, I guess it doesn't have to be super accurate because obviously this thing isn't going to be like actually moving or anything, it's going to be static. But making sure we have the sort of general look right is important to me. And I'm going to line it up with this part here. So this is basically like two heads massively upscaled and then just intersecting. Okay, and let's move that up a little bit. Oh, not that one. This one. Okay, and we want to rotate it a little bit. Okay, so we are just trying to make sure that it's somewhat in line with the other one. Like that. I'm pretty happy with that. Again, it doesn't have to be super accurate. But so these points here are basically going to be the sockets where our legs are going to come from. So, and I'm just looking at where we are placed. So I kind of want to stick in this area here. So I think we need to move it back a little bit. So I'm just going to use my... Let's just increase the step here. Move it back a little bit, and I'm going to move it up because we need to have room to sort of place the feet, the legs I mean. And I'm just going to get an idea of where we are with this. So this looks about right. We have a sort of not quite a 90 degree, but you know, a decent amount of bend in that. And I'm just going to do the same with this guy here. And move it back. Move it down a little, and I've got to do a little bit more. So we're kind of lined up to where we were before. How does it look on the other side? So we are slightly off, I think. Oops. Okay, I think we're back to where we were. Alrighty, so next is we got to put the the joints on the legs and then also finish off this back piece. I'm just going to move some bits around because we are getting kind of getting a little bit busy here. Okay. So this is the torso part of the robot, Liberty Prime. So I'm just going to place it somewhat in the middle. And just make sure we are lined up. Looks like we're not quite rotated correctly. Just sort of looking on both sides and trying to gauge where we're sitting. I'm trying to be like somewhat accurate, but I'm not super concerned if it doesn't line up exact. So you can see here it is not quite there. So I wonder if we need to rotate it slightly. If maybe we were, oh, a little bit too far, I think. Okay, let me just see. This is the hardest part, is kind of lining it up with the other parts. Okay, I might need to make that a little bit smaller actually. Well, maybe this guy isn't lined up. But this will be covered up anyway, so I'm not super concerned if it's not perfect. As long as it sort of generally looks okay, then I'm happy with it. Let's just move you over just a slight, just so we can get that one in there, that one's in there. And this is kind of be our, I'm thinking this one's going to be kind of our engine. So that's good, and then we can start placing these. I guess these are kind of like the hip joints. So we kind of roughly put it there, and there's that sort of cylinder there. I'm trying to just sort of line it up into the middle, and I want this one to be kind of have the leg leaning forward. So we need to find the right axis and place it accordingly. Okay, and just have a look on the back side. Now with this side here, we can just put something in there to sort of fill in that gap. So that's not a problem. I might just rotate it a little bit more. Just make sure it doesn't look too crazy on this side. Okay. Alrighty, now I'm going to get the other one and I'm going to do the same. Just got to see where that sort of cylinder part is and make sure it's kind of lined up. So that's that bit there. Just have a look at the back and just sort of, I'm looking at the top of the these joints just to see if they're kind of in the same position. Okay, we are pretty busy on this side, so let me see. We can do, there's that one there and that one there. Okay, where's that cylinder part? Okay, we're there. So for this section here, I'll probably just get one of these guys and just put it in there. So I guess it would kind of, like if you're comparing it to like a car or something, it would be like a CV joint or drive shaft or something. Now I don't mind if the legs aren't exactly orientated the same way perfectly, because it is kind of, I'm going to do it like it's in the middle of construction, so maybe things aren't lined up perfectly. Okay, and then this one over here, I need to move some stuff, so let's just move you, because you are this part. Let's just put you there temporarily, And let's put you in your place. Okay, how does that look? It's got a bit of angle on it. Let's do a little bit more. Okay. Once we sort of clear away the main parts and we get sort of a clearer idea of what we're working with, we can just play with the legs a bit more to change their direction. Maybe put something a little bit more extreme on that one. Okay, and should we do the same with this one? Just a little bit more character. Okay, so I'm just going to move the leg parts kind of where they're going to go. Let's just do one leg at a time. So you can see we've got big gaps between, so if we're going to line this up, this one's going to go down, and then this one has to change the angle. If I can do it here. Oh, I selected it. It's going to be basically like this angle. And then this guy lined up over here. So that's kind of roughly what it's going to look like. And then we put the sort of knee guard here, the kneecap, and then this one will go between. And then you can kind of see how the leg is going to be displayed. So obviously it's not exactly lined up with this angle here, so we'll need to finesse that when we come to it. But for now, I'm just going to place our legs roughly where they're going to go. And this thing here, if you want to remember, this is a hand, but we are going to use it kind of as like a gripping claw for the foot. So this thumb will be under the ground, but if you can kind of see it from this angle, it's going to be kind of like a clawed foot. Okay, now we have the legs kind of roughly in their position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the video and I'll come back and I'll have the legs all in their positions, their sort of somewhat final positions, and then we can continue on. So I will be with you in one moment. Alrighty, so we are complete with the legs. Now there is going to be some adjustment needed because things aren't lined up exactly. We have this kind of thing happening. I don't know how precious I want to be on it. I don't want to sort of go too pedantic with it, but just some things that just need a little bit more finessing, a little bit more rotation. But generally speaking, the legs are kind of placed where I want them, and they are sort of touching the ground. We do have some rotation on them, so it's not completely flat, so you can see that one is slightly on a hill, but it's still touching the ground. So we have all four legs basically placed where they need to be, and the main parts of them are in place, like the kind of the claws, the kneecaps, and then these connecting bits, and they are joined. If you can see up there, there is a join between that and the main body just to sort of fill in that area. I could put like a ball shape in there, so it's like on a rotating kind of thing. So maybe that's something I can play with later on. But pretty happy with the angle of the legs in terms of having them splayed out like that. And it's kind of looking almost like a horror creature type vibe. But I think, you know, from these kind of angles where you're that low, I mean, look at the size of that guy compared to this thing. It is a massive. So the next thing we're going to move on to is the center section. We're going to put, this is basically going to be a turret that's going to come out, and we have the main gun on the top. It's sort of turret thing, I guess, in the middle. And parts of the tank is actually going to act as a kind of give a engine kind of vibe as well. And we have our cockpit up here. Basically, you won't see the rear portion. It'll just be the front portion because we're going to hide that stuff in there. And so the idea is to have a ladder going up to the cockpit so you can actually go up there, have a look around, and it looks like you can control it. And then we have these plate sections. This bit's going to go right in the middle, and these kind of like armor plating is going to go underneath, and we have the same thing at the top. And then we have our main gun that we have to construct. And this last bit at the end is, again, part of the engine, but then also kind of like a radar array / radio thing, just to sort of communicate. And then we will probably put some sort of platform up here, and then I'll put like a bunch of Brotherhood of Steel characters, I guess, maybe in power suits, power armor, just to sort of give this idea that, you know, as it moves along, maybe they can jump off at certain points because there's no shock damage, obviously, and they can take the battle to the ground. So that'll be the next part. We're going to move on to the middle section, and then we'll close this out. And we are back. So we have placed the objects on the center section all together, and it's looking more like a scarab, that sort of bug-like creature. I'm just sort of looking at it from far away, and I'm not completely sold on the feet. They look a little bit clumsy to me. But anyway, let's quickly just have a look around, because we had the time lapse running. I just put the Liberty Prime next to it just to sort of gauge height, and I just put a statue there of a Corsa, I think that is. So I put this guy in here. It's just a statue, it's just a static object, but I thought because he's got the Gatling gun and you have the post there, that it kind of fits. And this guy here, I've put in a guard, a seat that is assigned as a guard. So he will basically like sit in the cockpit, but it's basically the chair that he's in is actually intersecting the cockpit chair. A little bit hard to tell, but it lined up really well. Like he's like exactly where he should be. That was very lucky. Let me just see if he... You can see there, it's just poking through there, but he is pretty much sitting exactly where he needs to be, so that is perfect. So it looks like somebody's actually manning this thing. So in the initial sort of mock-up that I did have the main gun sort of on an angle pointed up, sort of as if it was going to fire. But because I've decided to sort of build the settlement around this and sort of have it kind of in a construction phase, I decided to reuse the vertibird kind of bracket thing here. It's kind of like a rest thing. So when the gun is not in use, it sort of goes down and sort of settles on top of this kind of bracket thing, which I think fits quite well. It's just the only thing is it kind of just pokes through the armor, so it looks a little bit dorky. But yeah, pretty happy with that gun, and we have everything else sort of. We have the tank coming through, and it looks like kind of like the engine, which is cool. We have our, I'm not so keen on having this sort of bright red thing, but it's just some more visual interest, I guess, that kind of breaks apart just the bland look of the whole thing. So maybe I'll keep it in, but yeah, maybe the red is a little bit too strong. But I really like this sort of aerial sort of poking out, and it kind of, it breaks up the shape, which I think is good. And we have our platform at the back with our dudes just waiting to jump off. So the idea is that we have this section open, so as the scarab is sort of, you know, walking along, if there's something they need to do on the ground, they can just quickly jump off and land. So I have them jumping off the sides because that's kind of the clear area, because obviously if they jump off the back they're going to land on here, so I think that worked out well. And these are all statues, they're completely static, so it's just there for visuals. And this thing is visual as well, it doesn't actually go in. It sort of gives you that perception that it does, but it doesn't actually. I think the door will actually open, but oh no, I think we need to get off TCL. You can see there, it's just, there is actually nothing. It's just for looks, because I wanted to have this thing where it, you know, it looks like there's some internal thing. I did play with the idea of putting in a kind of like a loaded area. I did sort of experiment with that, but the mod that I had, it didn't work. It was basically for cellars and basements and things. But what ended up happening was it would go in, you could go in the door fine, it would load up, and you know, you'd have your basement all sort of kitted out with the Brotherhood of Steel stuff. But then if you tried to exit out again, the exit, it wouldn't be able to figure out the exit sort of animation or loading screen or whatever. And so what would happen was it would just basically crash. So I tried to make it work, but unfortunately that does not work. But we have some lighting as well. You can see there I've set up some lights, and there's one at the front as well, so that's cool. I would like to try and find a Liberty Prime texture like a retexture, because we're upscaling them so large, it looks okay from like, you know, like maybe this far away, but if you get any closer it sort of gets all very crunchy and kind of ugly looking. So basically the inspiration for this one was the scarab from Halo. Now I'm going to insert a picture here. You can see it's a little bit more sci-fi, and the leg situation I think is kind of cooler. Like I like the angles they got with the legs. I'm not sure I would go that far because it seems like a lot of work, but I'm interested to play with the idea of having kind of like sharp legs or feet instead of these sort of very large ones. It just kind of, to me, because it is Liberty Prime and it is kind of based on a humanoid robot, like the feet look too human to me. Kind of looks like somebody playing Twister, you know, the game Twister, where they're kind of on all fours, just kind of splayed out and kind of in an awkward position. So I'm wondering if I should play with the idea of having kind of sharp feet instead, and you know, maybe that will make the look a little bit, you know, more believable, I guess. Maybe I'll try that. So maybe I'll skip the video and just try it with like sharp feet, and then we'll see if that works. And then I guess if it doesn't, you know, leave a comment. If you don't think it works, then I can revert back to the save. But I want to try it just to see what it might look like. So I'll do that now. Okay, we converted the legs here, and I think that is an improvement. It makes it look more like an insect, I think. Actually, I'm just thinking about insect. I think there was insecty kind of. There was something with that. There was something that had kind of like arms. I'm just trying to think what it was. Is it this one? Maybe it's this one. Might be a little bit too big. Obviously, I'm not going to leave it there, but that does look like that does look like an insect. I don't know. That looks kind of cool to me. Obviously, it's not working with our cockpit up here. Maybe I can find something that'll go with that one. What's that one? What else do we have? Oh, before I forget, I wanted to put in these guys up here. Just a little bit of visual interest. If we rotate that and then do a... Oh, we lost it. Do something like that. Make it smaller. Okay, smaller still. 50. Oh. Oh. I think that's on par. Where should we put it? Like this maybe? It's kind of in the middle maybe? Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Okay, that was 50% I think. What button? This one. 50, and then we go rotate. Is that correct? I always do too much, and then I think it was up to these bits here, and then we're going to make sure it's in the center. Yep, cool, that looks awesome. Okay everyone, I think I'll finish the video here. So the next video we'll do basically building up around this thing. I want to do scaffolding, make it look like it's still being worked on. Just do little bits and bobs around the place, put some stuff on the ground there, sort of forklifts and things like that. And I'd just like to add that I did, between the last part of the video and this part of the video, I did download a Liberty Prime retexture. I found an 8K texture on Nexus Mods done by CC, so it's called CC's Liberty Prime 8K texture mod, or something to that effect. And it's just sort of given this thing new life. It just looks really awesome. Like the rivets, the quality of the bump map, just everything looks amazing. Because I think if you would have seen in the video, these sort of armor plates here, they were looking very low res and crunchy. But now they are looking beautiful. This thing is just coming out really well. So to finish off the video, I'll do some sort of flyby type thing like we usually do. And just get a good look at this thing. Oh, we got rain, so it's going to go shiny. But yeah, this retexture is just awesome. Look at the details. Okay, so we'll leave it there, and we'll do some nice flybys. So I hope you enjoyed that one. We'll catch you up in the next one, episode 2. This might be a 3-part series, I think. Yeah, sort of one episode for this area and then another episode for just filling out this sort of the rest of the island. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will see you in the next one. And if you want to see some nice beauty shots, then just hang in for the rest of the video. Alrighty, bye bye.